is the Orange Zone, brought to you in part by Upstate University Hospital.
Syracuse football 2-0 for the second year in a row. Good evening, I'm Nico Tamurian. Welcome to the Orange Zone. I'm joined as always by former Orange running back Damian Rhodes. Damian, thanks so much for joining us once again.
2 weeks in a row, we get to talk about a W.
This is great stuff.
What can be better?
And I'll tell you what, I mean, the story of this game with Wake Forest was some struggles early, but they really turned it on in the second half to get the big victory.
I'll tell you, the way that they stayed in the game, the mental toughness for such a young team in a lot of key positions, to be able to fight that way. You know, the third quarter could have been won by Wake. They could have took that, and the game could have been over.
Right.
But they fought, they hung in, they made plays when they needed to. Next thing you know, the steam touchdown. Game changed from there, and you got to give the hats off to the team for fighting that hard.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the state of the Orange tonight. This is one of my favorite things I always bring you guys. Syracuse is 2-0 on the season, 1-0 in ACC play. 11th now in overall defense. They went down a couple spots. They put an ACC team, though. Eric Dungy, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. That is huge. We'll talk about that more in a moment. Next up is Central Michigan. But, Damian, this is something I want to show you here. The current Atlantic Coast Conference standings, in the Atlantic Division anyway. There it is, Syracuse #1. Now, granted, it's the only ACC game that's been played so far. But I think any Syracuse fan can take stock in that. And, hey, listen, SU, it's the first time they've won their ACC opener in their short 3-season tenure in the league. So things looking pretty good, as we mentioned, thanks to that second-half rally.
Well, think about that, right? So we win that game, and it looks shaky for a little bit. But that could be one of those games that, you know, forbid the season gets choppy, and you lose a game like that at home, a game that you should win, you know, on paper, you're the favorite going into the game. That would be a terrible game to lose. They found a way to win. We talked about it in the season opening show that that's a game we have to win, an early test for us, and they answered it. Now we have Central Michigan coming. We have a chance to be 3-0 before the game. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Of course.
Before Les Miles and his team all the time. But, you know, that's a bigger win than I think people in the city realize. And not to mention a conference win, you got to love those.
I feel like the play we just saw there, the touchdown to Brisley, which led into this touchdown to Steve Ishmael, that could be a moment that we're sitting here in November, maybe December, being like, things really took off after that, potentially. I don't want to get ahead of myself again, but that was a big moment.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's always plays throughout a season that are kind of season defining, right? And that play and that game, especially that play to Steam, that really changed it. Because earlier in the second quarter, we thought after the Simmons interception for a touchdown, we thought the game was going to become Syracuse, just going to begin rolling. But Wake did a great job battling back. They went down and scored, and the game just didn't seem like it was clicking for us. It seemed like one of those games that we just couldn't get over the hump. Third quarter, same thing again. Then all of a sudden, Steam touchdown, Dungy with a great play. We're going to break that down a little bit. Next thing you know, fourth quarter, floodgates open up.
Absolutely. And one of the things I saw in this game, Wake Forest did have its fair share of good players. We know the quarterback was good. The Syracuse's athletes kind of took this thing over when they needed to, and that was a fun scene in the fourth quarter, knowing that the game was in hand, and we saw some of the athletic plays there that led to that moment right here.
It was a lot of fun to be in that dome. And for those who weren't there, shame on you unless you had a
You missed a good one, Central New York.
But at the end of the time, the ones that were there, that place was rocking. That place was rocking with what was there. I can't stress enough what this team has done and the way they are fighting back. For being a young team in a lot of key positions, it's a pleasure to watch. It really was.
And I'll tell you, to piggyback off your point in the attendance, it was so loud in there. You and I were on the field that Wake Forest had a delay of game, a couple false starts. Imagine what would have happened if it was double what it should have been, almost the capacity. Then we're talking about a different animal completely.
Right. The place was rocking, and hats off to those that came, and hats off to the team because they played hard. And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Of course not.
We're still thinking about Central Michigan. We're looking back on what we can still do better to get ready for Central Michigan. But you got to think, this team wins this game this coming Saturday. We're 3-0. The confidence is growing. You can see the team growing in confidence. And that win in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, the way they closed out that game after fighting and fighting and fighting, and you come out and take care of business on Saturday, it could set up for an interesting noon showdown in a couple weeks.
Could be, and we know Central Michigan's tough, but we certainly can't wait for that
Absolutely.
game. I'll tell you what, one thing that has me also excited for Central Michigan, we know they have playmakers, and we're going to talk about them in just a minute. But Syracuse's defense, yes, they were getting beat up a little bit early, but still early. They made the turnovers like we see here to keep them in the game, and then they really stiffened up in the second half that allowed Wake to score a point in the second half.
That defense, I'm telling you, they are only getting better. Again, they have a lot of young guys up front.
Absolutely.
A lot of young guys everywhere. And some of it showed in some of the plays they got let up. But one thing you saw about them is, one, they're physical. I mean, when we were down the field, they were hitting.
Absolutely.
They were delivering hits. And even when they were just a fraction late on Wolford, they were hitting him every time he stepped back to throw. Even when he was getting completions, getting rid of the ball, he was taking a punishing shot, and that starts to wear on a quarterback. Next thing you know, 3 picks. I mean, that's not out of nowhere.
No question about that. Now let's talk about Central Michigan, and we'll dive into these guys with our predictions later on in the show. But Central Michigan, they gave Oklahoma State a tough game in the video we're seeing here.
Yes.
We might see more trick plays like this. They're a MAC team trying to get a win on the road. But the name of the game with these guys, they're a tough team, and they've got a senior leader and quarterback, their captain, Cooper Rush.
I mean, Cooper Rush is what makes them go. He's averaging 276 a game right now. He likes to look for Mark Chapman, Anthony Rice, a couple receivers. I think one had 6 catches each the last 2 games in Chapman. So you know where he's trying to go with the ball. If we slow him down, the rushing attack's only averaging 2.5 yards per carry. That's not a lot. We held Wake Forest to 1.4. So if we can isolate that pass, keep Cooper from, instead of doing 373 like Wolford did, keep him under 250. That sets up well for us.
If that happens, maybe we are talking about 3-0 for the first time since 1991. You touched on it a moment ago, and what would that mean for this program to get off to something we haven't seen in almost a quarter century?
It's for all those people saying, when's the program going to be back? First of all, last year was an injury-plagued year. You can't really hold them against that. Before then, 3 bowl wins in 4 years. There's not a lot of teams in the country that won 3 bowls in 4 years like that. They expect like a national championship just happens overnight. College football is a way different beast to win a national championship. But what this means for 3-0 is we're going a chance when LSU comes to this dome for this place to be rocking. And some people call me crazy. Maybe I'm just biased because I bleed orange.
But that's okay.
I know it has to be, right?
Yeah.
I think if we can win this game, I think we can give LSU a scare. I mean, they kind of play into what we like to do, which is stopping the run.
Absolutely. And you watched LSU against Mississippi State. They're super talented, but their big guy is Fournette, the running back. And we're not going to talk about that just yet. Yeah. I think Coach Schaefer would be upset with us for that. But it's going to, this Saturday could set up a lot of big things, and it should be a great game Saturday against Central Michigan. Damien, don't go anywhere. We have you breaking down some film with our main man, Danny Conley. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Eric Dungy. Why not? He looks great. We're also going to talk about the Orange defense as well. But first, tonight's trivia question. We just talked about it. The last time SU football was 3-0 was 1991. Who did Syracuse beat in those 3 games? The answer a little bit later on in the show. You're watching the Orange Zone right here on NBC3. Thanks for joining us once again. Absolutely. You and Damien going to break down, first and foremost, Eric Dungy, one of the key plays in this game. Really a momentum changer, as we talked about a moment ago. It could be a momentum changer for the entire season. Pretty athletic play by Eric Dungy in the 3rd quarter to give Syracuse a lead, don't you think?
I mean, we can talk about this maybe down the road as a play that changed the season. This throw is just it's an unbelievable throw. And the thing I like about this play is early in the first quarter, they ran the same play going into the end zone in the locker room. And he tried to throw the ball on the sideline. He missed a steam wide open in the end zone.
It's a broken play, first of all. I mean, they get pressure with several, I think, rushing 4. And then you see Dungy escape the pressure, come back through the pocket, jump into and sling it, backyard ball. Awesome throw and a great job. You'll see Brisley kind of watch this. So you end up getting a pressure through here. You got 2 coming off the edge, 1 through the middle. He plants his feet.
Love that.
Scoots up in the middle, jumps through it, boom, and slings it. And Brisley makes a nice catch.
And we saw earlier that Brisley almost quit on the route, saw that it was still going accelerated, and then obviously once
he's got a loaf on a touchdown. So the way that changes speed. So he's running. I'm not getting the ball slowed down. Now I catch up and I catch
receiver
the ball.
coach. What do you say to him? What do you say to him in the room?
Good job, minus plus plus.
He's like, Coach, how do I not get a perfect score for this one? This is the one we talked about. They're playing quarter half coverage.
Yeah. So Damien and I came to the conclusion. Bottom of the screen, you're playing quarter, half on top. This is one-on-one with the corner. He got beat, a little move, fake to the outside, beat inside. They're circling the safety. The safety, we always taught to say, the corner says, don't anticipate safety help. He's got 2 verticals, so that's on the corner. He's got to protect the inside.
Especially if you're playing quarter, you're telling that safety, they see you run, get downhill.
Yeah, and that's
the force player.
He's the force player. He's lined up at 10. He's coming
late
downhill.
for play action, and that's
2's
what he
blocking. That's on the corner.
Absolutely, and those are things hopefully we can clean up. Especially with Wingham, he's experienced enough. He should know that he shouldn't expect safety help on this.
This is my favorite. So they're dropping 6 in the coverage, and Donnie Simmons is the defense end into the boundary. So they'll bring double A gap pressure, a little cross pressure with a safety and a linebacker. Donnie's the end into the boundary. He's going to drop back 7, 8 steps, and the quarterback never sees him. This is Welch all over again, 2 times again last year. If they would have had this defense when I was playing, I could have made a lot of money dropping into the boundary.
I mean, the thing, we got away with this too, because look how late the safety is coming. Safety is late, the nickel coming in.
Pressure
He's
coming
late,
in from
so the pressure
Zaire.
still gets there.
Yeah, so this whole game comes down to 3 big plays to me. The pick 6, the 89-yard touchdown to Brisley, and the 53-yard to
Ishmael. Look at the big guy get in the end zone.
The rumbling,
you got a guy over there cheering for.
I have no idea who that
They
is.
had celebrities in the end zone on the sidelines there. I was up in the box sweating.
But I mean, those are the plays you have to make if you want to continue to win a game. If you want to push the season forward. I feel like last year at times we were so close to making those plays in games, they just wouldn't happen. And to have it happen in the game, especially a home conference game that you don't want to lose, you got to be excited for that.
And then Floyd's excited. You got to be excited. You know
The
what?
best.
He really is the best.
And Coach Mack too, celebrating him through the.
God love him.
God bless him. It was great to spend with former teammates out with him in the first quarter.
No question about that. One thing I did want to ask you guys, a game like Maryland last year, Syracuse outgained them. Really, in a lot of ways, should have won that game, but there was those mistakes. How big of a difference is it this year where they're kind of playing mistake-free football, or at least the mistakes, I should say, aren't hurting them as far as turnovers are concerned?
Well, Dungy, yes, people were like, oh, he was tentative in the first half. That's fine. What I do like, he hasn't given the ball away yet.
Sure. That's what I've been.
I'll take that right now.
I've been saying the same thing. I think I heard it from Shave in the end of the game press conference. He's like, he's just smart enough not to make bad decisions.
Right.
He's not putting us in bad position as far as the turnover battle. They're 3+3 each game. And there's a lot to be said for that. Not being able to think about going out and making a play or rushing a throw or doing something that's outside of you.
Right.
And he's mature, he's calm, and he's taking care of business.
Hats off to Coach Lester for calling these plays that get him settled. I love the first play call they had at the beginning of the game. Little play action, receiving screen. I loved it.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for that. Don't go anywhere, either one of you. We still have more to talk about here on the Orange Zone. We have our player profile as well. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back here on the Orange Zone on NBC3.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone. Time now for a look around the conference. Here is Andy Malnoski with your ACC Roundup. Andy.
Hey, thank you so much, Nico. Syracuse and Wake Forest might have been the only true ACC game this week, but there's still plenty of excitement around the conference last weekend. We start with a thrilling finish in Charlottesville. The Virginia Cavaliers hosting Notre Dame. The Irish endure a terrible injury to starting quarterback Malik Zaire. Now Zaire with a broken ankle, done for 2015. The Cavs actually take the lead with less than 2 minutes to go, 27-26 after this 1-yard touchdown run. But in the end, Irish backup quarterback Deshaun Kaiser, ice in his veins, finds Will Fuller. 12 seconds to go, and it connects a touchdown. The Irish escape undefeated with a 34-27 win. Meanwhile, in Tallahassee, Florida State gets an early scare from South Florida in the Bulls. SU plays the Bulls in less than a month. USF ties FSU at the half thanks to Quentin Flowers. Finds DeErnest Johnson for the score in the second half now. Delvin Cook just looks angry, and he was. Just took over the game for the Seminoles. 30 carries, 266 yards. Yeah, that happened. FSU pulls away 34-14. Speaking of Dalvin Cook, he's the clear-cut choice for our Kerner Ford ACC Player of the Week. Cook, as mentioned, an incredible 266-yard outing. No play greater than this 74-yard touchdown run. Cook scored 3 touchdowns on the day. Seminoles host SU on Halloween. And hey, don't forget, our ACC Game of the Week on Saturday features the Big Ten versus the ACC. Northwestern at the Dukies. Duke University coverage begins at noon only on CW6. We are Central New York's home for the ACC. That's going to do it for this week's ACC Roundup. Nico, going to toss it back to you. And of course, let's go Orange.
Absolutely indeed, Andy. It is time now for our East Syracuse Chevy Orange Play of the Week. And for this play, we're featuring one player making the play of a lifetime. It's been a long road to success for Donnie Simmons. A true freshman for the Orange all the way back in 2011. Donnie has endured a season-ending injury. Depth charts not in his favor. All the while, never giving up hope, always working 100%.
I mean, I've been putting a lot of work into this program, and you know, it's almost for me, it's finally paying off. But at the same time, I'm playing for my brothers, and that's the most important thing. I've been doing this for 4 years, and that's the key to this defense as well, just playing for others and making sure we win.
The dream came to fruition on Saturday. Syracuse desperately needing a spark. Simmons provided it. He picked off a Wake Forest pass, impressive enough to be sure, but Simmons would not be denied.
There's a young man, came here, we had high hopes for him. He had to have an ACL repair, which was not a good deal for him, and he persevered. He continued to work hard in school, and you know, he's done well with his academics. Just so happy to see that young man playing well for us, Donnie Simmons, and get a touchdown today.
It was like watching 4 years of frustration let out on a single play. Simmons, a 260-pound defensive lineman, outran Wake Forest running backs and wide receivers. A moment Simmons will never forget and will never stop working to recreate.
Playing hard work is what it's all about, but moving, you know, week by week, we're kind of just in the now. So, you know, whatever week we're in, we're always game planning for that next team that we're going to play. So right now, you know, we're going to watch the film and see the corrections that we have to make, but then it's all about, you know, moving forward, and that's Central Michigan.
You know, I want to ask you guys, there's probably a lot of guys in college football like Donnie that they paid their dues. They were there for 4 or 5 years. To see him get that breakthrough moment, that's got to be a thing of pride. We'll start with you, Damian.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, when you play with players like that, you always have that guy that you played with that did it, and you can't be, you know, nothing but happy for somebody like that, and to keep working and working. You know, some guys get in as freshmen and play right away. Some have to just wait and earn their keep, and you know, for him to come in there and make such a big play in an ACC game, you know, hats off to him.
Here, here. Every college player has a different path. Eric Dungy, first game of his college career, he's starting quarterback. And Donnie Simmons comes around 5 years later, and now he's the starting defense end. I love the fact that you slowed that clip down. It's not often that a defensive player gets their hands on a football, especially with an opportunity in front of him that he had. I had an opportunity 20-some years ago against Miami in that same area, and when I caught it, everything froze, and it was like slow motion. So you slowed it down, and all Donnie could think of, put the ball in the left hand and just run as fast as I can. So, as Coach Mack would say, God bless him.
And he outran a Wake Forest wide receiver and tight end.
He can scoot.
Got some timely
He can
balls.
run.
Moving.
Absolutely.
Moving.
Oh, no question about that, guys. Thank you so much. Stick around. We have more to talk about here on the Orange Zone. That was our East Syracuse Chevy Orange Player of the Week. When we come back, we have our trivia answer and Damian and my prediction. You don't want to miss it on the Orange Zone on NBC3.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone on NBC3. A quick review of tonight's trivia question. The last time SU football was 3-0 was 1991. Who did SU beat in those 3 games? The answer, according to that SU Media Guide, 2 SEC and an ACC squad, Vanderbilt, Maryland, and the mighty Florida Gators, who came into the Carrier Dome ranked number 5. Everybody remembers the Kirby Dardar reverse kickoff return for a touchdown. Well, Damian, we have made it now to the end zone. About 40 hours away now from kickoff with Central Michigan. They're a darn good team. This is going to be a tough test.
Yeah, but, you know, we can't just kind of, it's kind of like a trap game. We can't look forward to LSU too much. You know, we talked about it earlier, but as a player, as a staff, you need to be focused on this game because Central Michigan's dangerous enough where they can come into this game, into the Dome and win this game if we don't take care of what we have to do. Again, start about Cooper Rush. It all starts with him. Let's limit him, slow him down a little bit. The run game, I think, will be fine stopping them. One thing I would like to see this week for Syracuse, though, is we need more out of Ishmael. I'm not saying that's on him, but we have to find ways to get him the ball, more explosive plays, because he has explosive plays in him, too.
There you go. About 45 seconds left in our show tonight. Damian, what is your final prediction to put you on the spot here? What do you got for me?
I think we're going to have a good week scoring. I really do. I think we have Syracuse at 37, and I'll give Central Michigan 13.
There you go. I see something similar. I'm going to go with like a 30-14 or a 28-14 in that neighborhood. Not to say that Central Michigan won't give them a game. They're a good team, as we talked about.
They're a good team. I mean, Oklahoma State struggled.
And exactly, Oklahoma State, a good team out of the Big 12, and we're just hoping Syracuse can pull off the victory once again. Damian, as always, thank you for being here. For Andy Malnowski and the big man Danny Conley, I'm Nico Tamurian. Thanks again for joining us here in the Orange Zone on NBC3. We'll see you next Thursday night at 7 again, right here on NBC3. But for now, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.